On this brunch edition of Walk and Roll, we'll check out the southern delight of dim sum, see how thin a piece of dough can be stretched under a knife.
I never realized it was like as complex as this.
Learn how bad I am at wrapping a translucent prawn dumpling. Try to put down the weirdest part of a chicken.
When you bite into it, just the flesh just kind of melts away.
All that and more on this Walk and Roll. Down in the southerly lands of Guangdong and Hong Kong, if you're looking to get your brunch on, chances are you'll be dim-suming it up. Its name literally means point of the heart. The history of this stuff is linked to Silk Road traders, also with the later influence of the West had during the open ports in this region. Long before the idea of small plates became vogue, Cantonese kitchens were cranking out steamer basket after bamboo basket, each containing just a few bites. Dim sum is like Guangdong Food 101. It provides a good introduction to the flavors and approach of this style.
Dim sum is all about putting down lots and lots of small plates to capture the delicate and complex nature of Southern Chinese cuisine. And back here is where it looks like the dim sum be going down at. Come in. Hello, Chef Kyle.
Hey,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So I got a mean craving for some dim sum. Can you show me the ropes of how to make it?
Of course, yeah. So now my chef is doing a shao mai.
Shao mai.
I can do the display to show you.
So the shao mai, what's that? It's the yellow part on the outside and left open.
Yeah.
Of the countless varieties of dim sum plates, there are three that are known as the Heavenly Kings. Each is renowned for representing a different facet of what makes dim sum great. These are shajiao, a delicate shrimp dumpling with a translucent wrapper; shao mai, a half-closed yellow sphere that holds within a mixture of pork and shrimp topped with a dried scallop garnish; and lastly, changfen, which are these impossibly thin rice noodles that can be stuffed with any number of things. Today, Chef Tony is going to show me how to whip up these dishes worthy of a royal title.
So this is how you make the shao mai, right?
Yeah, this is what we need. The most important ingredient is the pork.
So you get the pork.
And we need some fats.
I mean, you really can't get too much better than the combination of pork fat, wrapper, and crab roe. It's just like a marriage made in heaven.
Shao mai are made from a wrapper of flour and water that has a touch of carrot juice added to give a yellowish hue. Inside goes a mix of fatty pork, chopped up shrimp, with the classic Guangdong mix of soy, ginger, and a sesame seed oil with a few other sauces. The chef grabs the yellow dough round in his hand and plops a big daub of filling on top. Then he starts to turn his hands, working the wrapper up around the filling, leaving an opening on top.
So why is the wrapper yellow? Because most other ones I've seen are more of a white kind of color.
Yeah, white color, because this is we add in some of the carrot juice inside.
Oh, so you add some carrot juice. So here they have the 4 shao mai all wrapped up, and it's ready to go into the steamer for you said about 5 minutes. And what they got to do is to let it steam away, and as soon as it's done, bring it right out to the customer. Because this stuff is all about getting it nice and fresh to fully enjoy it. And then so after you steam it, you drop on the crab roe, and good to go.
Yeah, that's all.
So Chef, what is your favorite dim sum?
It's my Heavenly King.
So this is the second Heavenly King.
Yeah, xiajiao.
Shajiao.
Many people consider shajiao the test of a dim sum chef's abilities. What makes it so complicated to pull off is making the wrapper itself and the actual wrapping process. The dish begins with the dough of flour, water, tapioca, and wheat starch. Then it's flattened into a little dough round, and then the chef uses the side of a meat cleaver to press it out into an uber thin piece. If it's done right, the wrapper will be translucent. It's filled with big chunks of prawn, cooked pork fat, slivers of bamboo, and the usual medley of sauces. The process of wrapping it is so tricky because you want these beautiful folds, and it's difficult to work with that paper-thin wrapper. And after it's all wrapped up, the folded bit is pulled and flattened to make the whole thing look like a shrimp tail and all.
So this is how you do it properly. Mine looks like a folded monstrosity of sort. I can see it. So this is what I made. You can kind of see it, lumpy, not so pretty at all. And this is the work by the master. So like he was showing me, you kind of twist it slowly and turn it. Now it sounds so simple, twisting and turning, but because how thin this is, and just you want to do it in just the right way, so it has these pretty grooves on it as he folds it. Then he squishes it like that. So that's how it gets that beautiful shape, which I absolutely failed at.
Despite their small size and the simplicity of their look, these Heavenly Kings are actually quite tricky to make properly.
So what do we have inside this scary-looking steamer basket?
Yeah, this is for doing chang fen.
Chang fen. Now
In English, we call rice noodle.
So rice noodle.
For the other two Heavenly Kings, the traditional bamboo steamer basket is used, but for this little guy, it requires a whole different beast altogether to create the alchemy of this dim sum. They use a steamer tray. Once it's opened up, a white cloth is put inside. Onto this cloth, a thin batter of the rice noodle is poured and spread into a thin layer.
Is that the one where it's the big sheet of a rice
big
kind of
sheet,
paper?
Yeah, you need a flour, and this is very dangerous.
This is the
You need
dangerous
a
part.
very experienced chef to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's very smoky. Then close it up for 2 minutes.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that big puff. Ooh, it's slowly deflating down.
Changfen, that steamed and stuffed rice noodle, starts off from a thin batter instead of the usual dough that is used for most on the dumpling end of the dim sum spectrum.
Any ingredient you can put char siu, shrimp, mushroom, or vegetable. You can be vegetarian also.
After it steams for a few minutes, whatever filling desired is added. In this case, a medley of julienne vegetable slices. Most dim sum is cooked by tossing a few pieces into a bamboo steamer and adding it to the tower of baskets to steam away for a few minutes. Besides this method, some are made in steam trays and others fried in little bits of oil, which was influenced by the West.
So I heard in Cantonese, the dim sum is called, was it kind of like yum cha?
Yum cha.
And what does that mean?
Yum cha, that means we call it high tea.
High
Actually,
tea.
Yeah.
So when you eat dim sum, you drink tea as well?
Yeah, of course.
And
To clear the fattiness.
to clear the
Yeah,
fattiness.
make you feel better. Yeah,
To locals of the province, they often call this brunch feast yum cha, which means to drink tea. It got this name because drinking tea is so closely associated with the dim sum itself. All one has to say in this land is drink tea, and people know the dim sum dishes will go with it as well. Today I tasted one of the most popular teas that pairs with dim sum, called Tie Guan Ying, which is a type of oolong tea. Oolong is a partially fermented tea, so it tastes like a cross between green and black tea. This tea is often presented with a ceremony done tableside. The first pot of brewed tea is discarded because the flavor isn't spot on. After the first pot, it's good to go for a pour. For most brunches in the West, your glass would likely be filled with OJ, coffee, or some champagne if you want to start off the day on a balling note. I can see how tea goes well with the soft, delicate flavors of dim sum, but for me, I prefer something a bit bolder to help cleanse my palate between the waves of dim sum.
So drinking tea is definitely what you want to be doing when you're putting down dim sum. The flavors, I'm told, go together perfectly. And so you're going to open up these baskets and see how it works. So this is definitely the best part of my job right here, getting to chopstick into some amazing stuff like this. Xiao mai.
Xiao mai is like a surf and turf dumpling. The pork adds a level of juicy fattiness, and the shrimp tosses a certain fresh seafood note to the mix. And that chewy yellow wrapper unites all the goodness together.
Chicken feet.
Chicken feet.
Oh, chicken
Ooh. I've heard what they call it. Was it a kind of like phoenix claw or something,
Yeah.
right?
Chicken feet. This is certainly one of the dishes that would put off most Western eaters. But I can assure you that the way they make it here takes something that sounds so strange and off-putting and elevates it to this awesome plane of flavor. How they do it is by this unique cooking process of deep frying, followed by boiling, then marinating, and then finally giving it a go in the steamer. What all these techniques do is give it an amazing, melt-in-your-mouth level of tenderness that can't be believed until you try it. Part of the fun of this dish is the way that you eat it by sucking and gnawing at it. But be careful not to swallow any of those little bones or nubs of cartilage.
But I mean, I think with the techniques that you guys have done, you know, first frying it, then the
then
washing it,
yeah.
marinade,
Yeah.
and then all those processes, it definitely transforms something that doesn't sound too tasty into just this amazing texture. Like when you bite into it, just the flesh just kind of melts away.
Char siu bao.
That's my
Char
personal
siu
favorite.
bao. That's
Char siu.
also one of my favorite. Yeah.
And what's inside of this one? Is this with the pork inside?
It's char siu.
One of my personal favorites of the dim sum scene has long been the steamed pork bun known as the cha shao bao. It's a super soft, steamed bun filled with this milty pork mixture. Sort of like pulled pork that's been stuffed into a piece of uncooked bread dough, but in the best possible way, of course.
It's very important to remember to take off the little bit of paper on the bottom. So why do you guys have the paper on the bottom?
Make sure that you don't stick to the basket.
Oh, so it keeps
It's
it from
easier,
sticking.
yeah.
And the surprises continue.
ha gao.
Hagao is the Cantonese name.
Yeah.
So this is the hagao that we made before.
Yeah.
When I lifted up one of the shajiao with my chopstick, I could tell how many say this is the test of a chef's ability.
And you can kind of see, earlier we were talking about the wrapper, but you can see how shiny white it is on the outside. And you can see the kind of pink from the shrimp popping out inside.
You can go with vinegar sauce or you can go with chili sauce.
It had this soft, delicate texture that contrasted with the massive chunks of shrimp within. Chewy, chunky, and overall, delicious. Lo Bo Gao is chunks of fried turnip covered in a rich XO sauce. When you bite into it first, you get the crunchiness on the outside, and then inside the silky soft smoothness. Smooth, like dropping the needle on a Barry White tune late on a Saturday night. The chongfen was slippery, soft, and melted in your mouth. I liked the veggie mix inside, but I'd have to say that I prefer the porky-filled version a bit more.
It's definitely one of the softest textures I've ever had.
Dim sum is certainly more than the sum of its parts. This is the perfect meal for someone who has a short attention span like yours truly. If you get bored of one dish, or if you don't think it's hitting the right flavor note, just wait a few more minutes for the next wave of dim sum to arrive. Which to me sounds like the perfect brunch for a lazy Saturday when all you want to do is relax and smile at the fact that you don't have to work or really do too much of anything besides enjoy some good food and time with family. On the next Walk and Roll, we'll see how they barbecue it up down in Guangdong.
Smell those pigs that we just saw, and from the skewers, all the juices, all the fat from them. It just stopped down to the bottom, and it has this amazing smell.
Taste some of the most delicate, complex flavors I've ever had.
Before you die, what's the last thing that you want to eat?
End a feast with a dessert that doubles as art.
And when you bite into it, it's just kind of like Durian pudding. It's kind of thicker, more sweet pudding, and it just runs everywhere.
All that and more on the next Walk and Roll.